Today is May 20th, 2010, Draw Mohammed Day. The organizer of this rather disorganized event hasn't properly directed the energies of the participants, and I fear some have taken it as an opportunity to launch unfair criticisms and unthinking comments toward those of the Islamic faith, with some of it bordering on racism, if not outright racism. I am participating to add one voice of balance to the maelstrom. It's difficult to call this kind of drawing blasphemous, as the idea of blasphemy kind of works from the presupposition of a universal belief. I am an apostate to Islam, as I am an apostate to all religions. A charge of blasphemy is meaningless to me. At the same time, I mean no offense in this drawing, and I'm not sure that anyone could reasonably draw offense from it, as you will see. Well, except if you're nitpicky about headwear. I'm afraid I've never put this headgear on, so I am unfamiliar with the wrapping pattern. I will kindly ask you to overlook that. This is intended to be neither a negative nor positive depiction of the Prophet Muhammad. It just is what it is. Things seem to be getting far less rational and far more vocal lately in reactions from the Muslim world. The response is intended to intimidate and silence critics, rather than to encourage understanding. Is 120 dead people really an appropriate response to a drawing published in a newspaper? I'm familiar with the philosophical reasons for the ban on depictions of the Prophet Muhammad, and really, as Aaron Ra pointed out, it doesn't seem to be working as intended. The fanaticism and fervor with which the death threats are barked at cartoonists can easily be identified as idolatry, because the message has been lost. The focus is firmly on defending the Prophet. Islam, if it really is the one true religion, ought to be able to stand up to criticism. It should be able to withstand scrutiny. It should welcome commentary from its critics and respond with reasoned dialogue and rational arguments, as it once did in ancient times, instead of the violent, childlike tantrums we see today. In the Islamic Golden Age, great contributions were put forward into our global civilization by Islamic scientists, and especially into the field of mathematics. Islam was known for its progressive thinking once upon a time. The same can hardly be said for it today. When we see things like Taliban fundamentalists throwing gas grenades into schools for girls in Afghanistan. The same can scarcely be claimed when we hear of 15 Saudi girls dying after rescuers refused to enter their burning school building because the girls were not wearing appropriate attire. The same can hardly be claimed when an Islamic court stones a 13-year-old girl to death for the crime of being raped. When we see frothing crowds gnashing their teeth at cartoonists, burning flags, chanting threats against their lives, and extremist organizations putting cash bounties and bonuses on their heads, we can't help but think they are an uneducated, ignorant, backward people. But this is wrong thinking. The people are not backward. If presented with the proper environment of a good education, the elimination of poverty, the removal of religious oppression, essentially enlightenment, these people are just like anyone else. We cannot blame the people for what Richard Dawkins refers to as accidents of geography, for being born and raised in a place where the effects of religious indoctrination make them blind to any other option. Barbarism and violence in return to this response is not correct. Barbarism met with barbarism only makes us all barbarians. Dialogue opens the door to education. Education leads to understanding and enlightenment. Enlightenment ultimately leads to peace. If you are a moderate Muslim watching this, and you agree with this position that the issuing of threats, violence, and hatred from your Muslim brethren is inappropriate, counterproductive, and in some cases illegal, then I ask one thing. Talk to someone about it. Make your views known. Dialogue will be far more effective a tool for building understanding than will violence, hatred, and threats. Yours is a very potent voice that is sorely and noticeably missing from this discussion, drowned out by the shouting of your fanatical brethren. And that silence speaks volumes. The silence means that you are either in agreement with the extreme reaction, you are unable to do something about it, or you fear the repercussions of speaking out. You can talk to us who are protesting the hate-filled, violent, and terrorizing actions of the opponents of free speech. Let us know that there are Muslims who think it is inappropriate to scream death to the infidel at the slightest gust of wind. But more importantly, I would ask that you open up a dialogue with your Muslim brothers and sisters. The most effective change comes from within. Lasting and sincere change is seldom imposed from without. I'm Smiling Skeptic, and I am not scared. Be strong, be rational, be patient, and refuse to live in terror. Be excellent to each other, and may peace be upon us all.